In 2022, 24.1 people per 100,000 died by suicide in South Korea. That placed the country at the top of the OECD, a club of wealthy, developed nations. For comparison, the OECD average that same year sat at 11.1. Korea's rate was more than double. The question is not simply why the number is high. The deeper question is why, after decades of economic success and social investment, it has barely moved. That tension, prosperity alongside persistent despair, is what this episode examines. Statistics Korea records suicide as the leading cause of death for Koreans aged 10 to 39. Among teenagers specifically, it accounts for more than 4 in 10 deaths, a figure that has held stubbornly for over a decade. The OECD Health Statistics database shows Korea has ranked in the top 3 for suicide mortality among member states in most years since 2003. Men die at roughly 2.5 times the rate of women, though women report higher rates of suicidal ideation, a pattern the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs has documented repeatedly. The economic dimension is equally stark. A 2023 report from the Korea Development Institute estimated the annual social cost of suicide at over 6 trillion Korean won, approximately $4.5 billion US. These are not marginal figures. They describe a structural feature of Korean society. To understand the mechanism, 3 interlocking pressures matter most. The first is academic and occupational competition. The Korean education system funnels students toward a single high-stakes university entrance exam, the Sunyoung, creating a culture where one test can feel like it determines a lifetime. The Korean Educational Development Institute has documented extreme study hours and chronic sleep deprivation among high school students. The second pressure is workplace culture. The OECD consistently ranks Korea among the highest for annual working hours, 1,901 hours per worker in 2022, compared to an OECD average of 1,752. Long hours leave little space for recovery or connection. The third and most structural pressure is stigma. The Korea Mental Health Technology R&D project found that fewer than 1 in 10 Koreans with a diagnosable mental health condition seek professional treatment. Asking for help carries a social cost that, for many, feels too high to pay. The failures of the system are measurable. Korea has one of the lowest rates of psychiatrists per capita in the OECD, approximately 1.3 per 100,000 population, against an OECD average of roughly 18, according to OECD Health at a glance. Government spending on mental health has historically represented less than 2% of the total health budget, compared to an average closer to 5% across comparable nations. Crisis intervention infrastructure is thin. The suicide prevention hotline operated by the Korea Suicide Prevention Center is chronically underfunded and understaffed. There have been genuine policy efforts. The government introduced national suicide prevention plans in 2004, 2012, and 2018. But implementation gaps between legislation and ground-level services remain wide. The cost, ultimately, is paid not in budgets, but in lives cut short, families fractured, and a generation told to perform at any price. Korea's crisis holds a mirror up to any society that has built success on relentless performance without building equal capacity for rest, connection, and care. Economic growth does not automatically translate to emotional well-being. When academic systems funnel entire generations through a single high-pressure gate, when workplace cultures reward endurance over health, and when stigma makes help-seeking a social liability, the consequences accumulate quietly until the statistics speak for themselves. The lesson is not unique to Korea. Countries across East Asia and increasingly in the West are watching similar pressures converge. What Korea reveals is what happens when those pressures are left unaddressed for a generation. The numbers are a warning. The question is whether other societies will read them in time.